Your television set. Do not attempt to adjust the picture. We are controlling transmission.
Good morning and welcome to Weekend Breakfast. I'm Miriam Korowa.
And I'm Richard Davies. Making news this morning, Prime Minister Malcolm Turnbull makes a surprise visit to Baghdad to hold talks with the Iraqi government and meet Australian troops.
Also ahead, security forces end a siege at a hotel in Burkina Faso as an Australian couple is kidnapped by Al-Qaeda jihadists.
Taiwan elects its first female president as voters turn their backs on closer ties with China.
And Australia has its first ever winner of the Dakar rally after Toby Price secured victory in the motorcycle division. Hello, thanks for joining us. It's Sunday the 17th of January.
There's plenty coming up on Weekend Breakfast this morning, and Hollywood is gearing up for the Oscars next month, and a record number of Australians are in the running. In fact, 15 Aussies are nominated this year.
That's right, the awards season in Tinseltown kicked off with the Golden Globes last week, but none of the Australian nominees took home a prize. Often, Golden Globes are touted as a good indication of Oscar votes. Entertainment writer and film critic Charles Hardy will join us to give us his picks a little later this hour.
And we're seeing some vision there of the film The Revenant, which is one that is likely to be a winner, a big winner. It was certainly a great film, but pretty uncomfortable to watch at times.
And of course, everyone's wondering whether this year will be the year that Leonardo DiCaprio, the lead actor in that particular film, whether he will walk away with an Academy Award this time around.
And also, not without some controversy this year, the Oscars, some saying that it's too much of a white affair.
That's right. There's a boycott that's been called for by some who see that of the nominees, there is no one among them who is not of white background. So a very interesting, controversial topic there to look into. Top stories from ABC News. The Prime Minister, Malcolm Turnbull, has arrived in Baghdad to meet Australian troops training local forces and to hold talks with the Iraqi government. In his first trip to Iraq since becoming Prime Minister, Malcolm Turnbull held talks with his counterpart, Haider al-Abadi, and also visited the Australian Embassy in Baghdad and the Taji military base. Around 300 Australian troops have been training the Iraqi recruits since April last year as part of an overall contribution to the US-led military intervention against Islamic State militants.
Authorities in Burkina Faso in West Africa say a doctor and his wife, kidnapped by Islamist militants near the border with Mali, are Australian, not Austrian, as previously reported. It's believed the couple are aged in their 80s and are from Perth, and they'd been involved in volunteer work in the region.
And authorities say it's still unclear whether the kidnapping is connected to the attack on a hotel in the Burkina capital, Ouagadougou, that killed at least 26 people. 3 gunmen were killed when local troops and French special forces stormed a hotel and restaurant, freeing 126 hostages. President Roch Marc Christian Kabore has described the attacks as violent, cowardly, and has called on the Burkina people to unite in its fight against terrorism.
Indonesian police have now arrested 12 people in relation to Thursday's terror attacks in Jakarta. 5 militants and 2 other people were killed in the attacks near a United Nations building in the capital. Police are still trying to determine if one of the dead terrorists is actually a victim.
The people of Taiwan have made history by voting in their first female president. Tsai Ing-wen represents the main opposition party, which has traditionally leaned towards formal independence from China. In her victory speech, the 59-year-old called for freedom of navigation in the disputed South China Sea. She also called for stronger ties with Japan in a clear shift away from mainland China.
Iranian authorities say they've released 4 prisoners with dual citizenship as part of an exchange. One of those set free is Washington Post journalist Jason Rezaian, who was convicted of espionage in Iran last year. The US says it'll release 7 Iranian nationals as part of the deal. Earlier this month, Razayan's brother told lawmakers Razayan's only crime was practicing journalism.
The charges against Jason are false. Jason did sometimes write about Iran's domestic and foreign policy, but this is perfectly legal conduct recognized around the world as practicing journalism. Iran's treatment of Jason has been and remains in violation of international human rights laws that Iran has repeatedly promised to uphold. Yet despite being party to treaties that protect free speech and due process, Iran has afforded Jason neither of these fundamental rights.
2 men have been arrested after a security guard was allegedly assaulted in Sydney's Potts Point early this morning. The men were allegedly refused entry to a bar before one of the men punched the guard in the face. During the ensuing altercation, a parked car was damaged and a bystander was also assaulted. 2 men have been arrested and are assisting police with their inquiries.
A North Queensland MP has called on Clive Palmer to pay back a substantial donation he made to his own party. Australian Electoral Commission figures reveal Palmer's nickel refinery in Townsville donated $290,000 to the Palmer United Party a fortnight before laying off 240 workers. Townsville-based LNP member Ewan Jones says the donation beggars belief.
A wartime bunker hidden beneath a London train station will be open to the public for the first time since World War II. The underground shelter was dug during the war to shelter up to 8,000 people. Much of the original signage still hangs on the walls from the days when the bunkers saved lives. Transport for London officials say during the air raids, loudspeakers pumped music into the rooms and dancing and singing would go on into the night.
There was a lot of camaraderie, there was a lot of dancing, a lot of telling stories, there were a lot of families down here, many children running around, and it was very difficult to sleep. As you can hear, the tube train is very close by, and this sort of proximity of people meant that to keep each other's spirits up, there was a lot of dancing and lots of singing.
Australian has won the gruelling Dakar Rally for the very first time. 28-year-old Newcastle man Toby Price clinched the historic win in his motorcycle division with convincing overall lead of 39 minutes and 41 seconds over his nearest rival and KTM teammate Stefan Svitko. It was only Price's second Dakar Rally after finishing third on debut last year. The Sydney Thunder have kept their hopes of a maiden BBL finals berth alive with a convincing win over the Sixers in the Sydney Derby. Big hitting from stars Shane Watson, Michael Hussey and Andre Russell led Thunder to a mammoth 5 for 202 from their 20 overs. In reply, the Sixers were bowled out for 156. If the Renegades lose to the Strikers on Monday night, Thunder will make the semis for the very first time. Meanwhile, in Perth, the reigning champs have a bit of work to do heading into the finals, thumped by the Melbourne Stars. Chasing a modest 147 for victory, the Scorchers were struggling at 5 for 34 in only the 8th over and never recovered, all out for 94. The win secures the Stars an all-important home semi-final.
Well, thank you for your company here on Weekend Breakfast. Still to come, we get the latest from Burkina Faso, where authorities have confirmed an Australian couple has been kidnapped just hours after security forces end a deadly siege on a hotel popular with Westerners.
Also ahead, fears social media is contributing to feelings of isolation and social pressure, with crisis support services receiving a record number of calls over the last year.
Later, pop-up pets. The Queensland.
In Western Australia, scattered to widespread showers and storms. Cool in the southwest, it'll be hot elsewhere. And in the top end, scattered thundery showers over the north, hot and humid throughout. And looking ahead to tomorrow's forecast for the capital cities, a possible shower in Brisbane. It'll be mostly sunny in Sydney and Canberra, sunny also in Melbourne, partly cloudy in Hobart, very hot in Adelaide, a possible shower or storm in Perth, and a possible afternoon shower in Darwin.